Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's live Q&A. I'm here with Nicole Miyuki, and she is going to be walking us through some fun hand lettering for kids, which is something we've never done before. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, nice to see you. And
So, sorry, go ahead.
I said nice to see you and everyone else.
Oh, yeah. So if you're tuning in live right now, make sure you comment in the comments and let us know if you have any kids with you. We would love to know if you're actually doing this live with us or if people are going to be doing this more on the replay. So you're welcome to just watch this through once and then do it again as a lesson later with your kids, or you can do it live with your kids right now. It's totally up to you. And Nicole's going to walk us through all of that. But before we get started, Nicole, can you just give us kind of a little rundown of who you are, what you do, where people might recognize you from? Wink, wink.
Yeah, I some of you might recognize me if you've done the modern calligraphy somewhat. I was one of the instructors in the 1.0 that happened in 2015. But I have done a lot of watercolor brush lettering, so I tend to do more of the actual brush instead of brush pens. But it's all lettering, all this cool art that we all have some connection to. Um, so I have been doing that for about 4 or 5 years. I started probably as a lot of us where it was just a hobby that I started to do. I needed an outlet. Kind of grew from there, realized that the hand lettering world was a thing, um, and that people were doing it for their weddings and different things. And then I recently wrote a hand lettering book. It's called, this is it, I have it if I can show it. It's called By Hand, and it's going through brush pens, brush, and foligraphy with paint pens or different other pens like micron pens. So that came out in April. And then this is what we're going to go over today, which is the kids' book. Yay! And Becca has hers. And that just came out October 2nd. So maybe some of you have it or you know anyone else, but this just came out hot off the press. So that's where we're at.
That's super fun. I think you're one of the first people I've seen to do hand lettering for kids, and a lot of people have even asked me for it. So good on you, because I don't know that I'd be able to teach kids, and I'm glad that somebody is.
Yeah, it definitely, they kind of went together. I structured the books the same, where it's a small lesson and then it's a project that kids can do. But it came at the right time where I realized a lot of kids, either cursive especially, is not something that's being taught in school. And with so much technology, I think literally writing a card is becoming not obsolete, but it's just not as common as when you and I were growing up. So
I even have some people in workshops every once in a while ask me if I can teach kids because they can't even sign their like passports anymore because
yeah,
they don't do any kind of cursive writing.
it's yeah, a signature is definitely going to become a foreign thing soon, I feel like.
Yeah. Although I also have had some teachers in some of my workshops who tell me that they do it anyway and they teach their kids to do that anyway. And some of them are bringing it back. So thank God for them.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think there definitely will, and with even with us as adults, because when I teach workshops too, I get the same thing. And I think we've gone so far technology based at the same time where fonts look so perfect. We all are striving for this human element, whether it's in a font or it's in just a physical card that you get in the mail, which doesn't happen very often anymore. So I
Yeah.
think we all are striving for that personal touch that everyone here can agree, but it's starting to trickle out into everywhere else.
Not to mention the kids hand lettering thing. I have so many people in these courses that tell me their kids are constantly trying to learn with them or just stealing their pens and not using them properly. So I think that actually just involving them in the process is really great. So I'm excited to dive into this.
Yeah, and especially with art programs not being as big. And the big thing that, especially in this book and whenever I teach, so I've taught some kids classes, is I think the other thing is that kids feel, it's amazing when I've taught some classes and to see kids and their brain is like an adult where they feel like things need to be perfect or it doesn't look right or kind of talking down on themselves. And so I try to remember and instill in kids that there's no like perfect font that we're all going for. Like this is so unique to you. And I'd rather the book is just to show them different ways that they can change up their lettering and what they already have, rather than feeling like it needs to look a certain way which is more probably what like our type of demographic is looking for a little bit more. So it's such a mix of both, I'd say.
For sure. All right. Well, I think we have a lot to go over because there are three different projects in here that we're going to do. But I just want to mention one more thing before I let Nicole take over and do the lesson. And that is that she is generously doing a giveaway for this kid's hand lettering book. So if you have kids at home or any, I mean, they don't have to be your kids, any kids that you know that want to learn hand lettering, what you have to do to enter to win Nicole's book is just screenshot yourself watching this live video right now and put it on Instagram and tag both of us. So I'm going to put Nicole's handle up here. So if you tag her and I in a picture of you watching this, you'll be entered to win. And Nicole's going to do the draw tomorrow around the same time. So as soon as you do that, you'll be entered in the draw and you can win this book and she'll ship it directly to you. So thanks for that, Nicole.
It says, I don't know if it just is on my screen. But
no, I spelled it wrong.
Good.
It's definitely not Nicoke.
That could be my nickname.
Okay, so here, I'll put the proper one up. But in the meantime, Nicole, if you want to just go ahead and take over, I'll get my face off of here and let you go ahead with your lesson.
Okay, perfect. So, okay, let me bring this a little bit closer. Okay, you want to come in? So, I brought my friend today. This is Ever. Ever is, do you want to see how old you are? She's 10. And so I wanted to bring her on because I get a lot of questions, at least specifically for my book, is what age it's for. The hotspot age is probably 9 to 12. But as I'm sure a lot of people here might maybe have kids who are 5, if you have a crafty kid, go for it. There's no rules as far as it has to be a certain age or when you're learning it. So we're going to go through that. The first thing that her and I just wanted to go through is supplies. So if a lot of you are doing brush pens, like with Becca's lessons, there are Tombro brush pens that you can use. But what I would rather kids start with is whatever they have in their backpack or whatever you have as supplies at home. So these are just Crayola Super Tips. So these are cool because they still have a little bit, I don't know, does that work? They still have a thin tip and then a thick part, so you can play with that. These are great. Also, Crayola just has these fatty markers, which are really good if you want to make, which we'll go through, is making a banner. And then I also love jelly rolls. We were playing with these earlier today. They're really fun because they have such bright colors. They're a little bit smaller, so these are more for drawing like finer details. But jelly rolls were my favorite, especially in middle school. I would always decorate my binder and have fun with these. So I would rather whatever supplies, even if it's Crayola or crayons, I'd rather just go for it and start with that. And then, okay, so the first thing that we're gonna do is get my station set up. Okay, so when it comes to, let's actually take off that one. This is just our decoration that Ever made earlier. It says morning sunshine. So we're gonna go through making one of these. Okay, so the first thing is if you want to either go for it and just write a word, or what I want to show you is with hand lettering, I think especially in the beginning, is breaking it down. Instead of seeing an H, for example, I want you to see a line and a line. So for kids who are doing it, you can either do it with us at the same time. See if I can get this off. So this one isn't working. With this, I'm just going to show using 2 different pens, but this is just for show purposes. So this is one of the first lessons in the book. So what I want to show is, oops. Okay, so we're going to make, actually, let me show this. Okay, so we're going to make a banner just like Ever did. So the first lesson that I just want to show really quickly is showing the ABCs. I'm not going to show every single letter, but we're going to write the word hooray to make a banner. So you all can do that. what I just want to help show you is instead of drawing an H really quickly, I want to think of just drawing lines. So I'm going to show it in two different colors, but the H is just that and then a line across and then a line down. So I'd rather you take it into steps rather than doing all really quickly at once. So the H, and then we know the O, and then I'm just going to show an R. So an R is actually a line, and then a half circle, and then another line. So it's kind of just taking it in bits and pieces. The first lesson I do in the book is just showing that, and then having the kids draw little patterns with the different lines. But what we want to do is have Ever make a project or make the banner. So let's see, I'm gonna take this up. These are I already pre-cut, which I'll explain how to do that. But do you want to take these up for you? Maybe we'll start. So also, I forgot to say in supplies, it's also nice to have scratch paper. So then the kids don't feel like it has to be perfect when you get to the cardstock. So it'll be helpful to have scratch paper, and then probably scissors. And if you have a hole punch, that would work for the banners. Or you can just kind of poke with your pencil, just poke through the corners. So that's that. And then where's the other part? Oh, okay. So if you don't have a template for a banner, which that's also in the book, but for now I want to show you guys a trick. If you were to make a banner with this little flag part at the bottom, what you can do is just take a card that's about the same size and you can fold it in half. So this is just a template. This isn't the final one. So you can fold that in half. And then if you open it up and you draw, we're just going to kind of guess. I think maybe about there. Draw a little dot to show where you want to have the tip of it be. And then try to do this all horizontal. You would just draw a line. Let me use this. So I'm pretending like this is my ruler. So if you have a ruler, you can totally do that. You can draw a line from, so I'm going from my circle to the end of this paper, the corner, like that. And then the other way. Oops. Okay, so that helps you to make a perfect triangle without kind of guessing. Oh, good job, perfect. Okay, so then, where's my scissors? Then we can cut the sides or the bottoms of the paper. And there is your template. So this is your template. And then when you have a bigger piece of cardstock, if you want to make a color, it's fun when they're colors, and then you can choose to do every other, whatever you want, or whatever you have. Then you can place this on the cardstock and outline, and then that'll be your flag. So that's a good way to do that. So we already have that done. So then Ever is going to go for it. Do you want to write hooray? Which, oh yeah, we were going to use this pen. So she's going to go through and draw each one. Perfect. So when it comes with this type of things, what you can do is if you're doing it with your kids and they want to make it a little bit more perfect and they want to do it, they could do it in pencil first. Another way is just have them write it out on scratch paper first, and then to practice to kind of gain their confidence to help kind of see what they're doing. There's no rule as far as making it perfect, so this is why we'd rather you just go for it and start it. That was so fast, good job. So you can tell, that's okay. What'd you say, it sounded? No, I still love it. Because, so this is just a fun way to get it. So each flag will have its own letter. And you can also play with the other thing. Remember how you were decorating the ends of it. You want to try to do that? You can pick a different color. So, which color do you want? So she's going to show you the other thing that you can do is you can start to decorate the borders of it, just to add a little bit of decoration to it. But what I wanted to, while she's doing that, give a lesson on is the size of your the tool that you're using. Again, it doesn't matter what you have, but a tip is that if you have a choice between a thinner and a thicker marker, for example, if you are making something that's going to be hung up or going to be shown farther away, I would go with a thicker one, because if we were to, for example, that H versus this H, you can see it a lot thicker. And then the other thing, if I don't want to get too technical, because the goal isn't to have them know how to use this pen, because the kids are gonna use it however they want to. But what I did want to show is with this, if you're using any type of material or tool that has a tip and a thick part, what you can have them play with is how they hold it. So, for example, if I'm more straight up and down, and I'm just using the tip, it looks like that. But if I angle my hand so I can really use the thick part of this guy, that is a lot thicker. So that's a way that if you have a tapered type of tip, you could really play with that. It's the same as with the Tombow pens, or any type of brush pens. I shouldn't be specific. Any type of brush pens. These are the Tombow brush pens. But this also has a tapered tip. So this is something that it's the same thing. You can either use the tip if they want to draw thinner, or if they use this thicker part, you can have them draw a really thick line. So it's less of using this correctly and more of what capabilities and what can you do with what you have. If you just have a regular jelly roll or a ballpoint pen or whatever they have, even though it's a lot thinner, maybe you encourage your kid to draw a line and then color it in if you want to make it thicker. So again, there's no right or wrong. Then that way you can just use what you have instead of feeling like you have to buy a specific pen. So that is that part of that lesson. And then, Heather, how you doing? Yay! Okay, keep going. So the other fun part is that you can continue to decorate and add little lines, like I was saying. And then for the, I'm going to tag team with you. Oops. Okay. Whoops, sorry. So you can see, oh, I love it. So she added a little border to the edge, just little lines. Maybe you do little dots, whatever works for you. And then you have a hole punch, like I said. What we're going to do is we need to create the holes for the corners. So you're going to do 2 and do 1 there, and then 1 on the corner. So then I'll do all of them pretty quickly. These are fun. A couple, if you want to think about if the kids are like, well, I don't know what I should write, maybe either have them write their name and it goes above their bed, or maybe they have a birthday party and hooray would be perfect. Or for any holiday, it could be celebrate or any different fun word. And maybe if you have 2 words, like it's happy birthday, it's happy on the top and then birthday on the bottom. I'm going to hold punch those corners. Oops. Okay. So then the other tip that I wanted to show is then you'll need any type of string. It doesn't need to be any specific type of string, but if you do have string that well, it's probably easier to see like this. that if it kind of frays at the end, what you can do, because it's hard to get it through the hole, depending, especially if it's a really small hole. So what the tip you can do is kind of like a shoelace, is use some washi tape, or even if you just have Scotch tape, any sort of tape. It doesn't need to be anything specific. So just take a little piece of washi tape and tie it on the, or not tie it, so excuse me, put it on the end, and I'm gonna wrap it around. So like I said, it's the end of a shoelace. And then it's easier, so you can see it's like that. Okay, perfect. So we're gonna lay it all out in order, H-O-O-R-A-Y. So we're gonna start with the Y. So there's two things that you can just think about. This is all personal preference if you want the string to be shown in the front or the back. So if you, do you want the string to be shown in front or back? Back. Okay, so to do that, you have to go in here so that it goes behind. So do you want to do that? So I just have this really big ball of string. So she's gonna go through the back and then into the front. So we're starting with the Y because you can start with either one, but either start with the H or the Y or whatever word you're doing. And then do the A. That's okay. You can pull it out. So we're just pulling it out, and then we're gonna keep going, and then we can even add more. So, like I said, this is a very, so all I had was string, washi tape, scissors, and cardstock, and then any pen. So this might take up a half an hour, an hour. It could be a very good thing to have someone do and make in any amount of time. So I'm gonna have her keep going through that. And then I wanted to show you guys a few more just ideas to get your brain going. So another fun thing that we did, oops. Are you okay to keep going? Okay, good job. Actually, I'm going to talk and give a little pep talk because I think a lot of times, well, actually, I'm going to say that at the end. I'm just going to keep going with my lesson. So what we're going to do is another idea is making a bookmark. Oops, sorry. Okay, got a lot going on here. So I'm going to show you another just really quick lesson. Another way for kids to kind of play with their hand lettering that they already have is playing with how tall the letters are. So, for example, we're going to do the quote, "Never give up." You can pick any quote that you would want to write on your bookmark. I don't know if you can see that on your bookmark. So with that, what I want to show is there's a difference between, so that's never, yeah, can you see it okay? Never. If I were to play, if you ask, and this is one of the lessons, is playing with the height of the letters. So if I said, let's make it a little bit taller. So that is a little bit taller. And then we can even go really extreme, just so you guys can see. Never. Nothing really fancy about that, but that is something that you can show that I just made this a little bit taller. I didn't make it wider. I didn't make it bigger. All we're playing with is the height. And so with that, when you start to think about, okay, if I were to make a bookmark, what would I want to write on it? You can really play with the height, because what we have is, which side did you want to use? Yeah, okay. Yay! Good job. Okay, we'll show that at the very end. We'll show her final product at the very end. So if you have, with a bookmark, bookmarks can be any size depending on how big your book is. All this is cardstock that I cut to be skinny. Doesn't need to be an exact size. It's just a fun little thing for kids to make bookmarks. So that, let's see. You want to show them? Well, okay, so what I would like you guys to do is to have once you have your bookmark made, you can again practice on scratch paper first, and figure out what you want to do. But Ever already did this for time purposes. I just wanted to have her do it before. So if you can see, we have the quote, never give up. And because it's such a big space that we're going with, she wrote never about that height. And then she wrote give a little bit taller because there's only 4 letters, but we wanted to make it a little bit taller. And then up was really, really tall. So she didn't really change how wide they were, how big they were. You did such a good job with playing with the height. And so especially if you're making a bookmark and you want to really fill it up, it's a good way to play with the height of things. Oh, I don't know if you can see it anymore. But then Ever, so what she did was she did it in pencil first. And then do you want to give your tip that you told me?
So when you're writing in pencil, so that you don't see, so that you don't see the pencil when you're going over with the marker, you erase it. You erase the pencil, but you want to write in pencil pretty hard so you can kind of see it. When you write over in marker, you can't see the pencil at all.
Such a good tip. So so you would lightly erase it? Yes. Okay, you can show that. So that was such a good idea if you do want to do it in pencil first to make it look like what you want. So she wrote it. And then the only thing is that if you do that, you can't really use a yellow, for example, or a really light color because you'll be able to see the pencil lines through it. So that's a really good tip that Ever had to give you guys. The other part, so when it comes to that, or when you have time to decorate your own bookmark, I would have fun. Get all the different color rainbows out, play with that. Any sort of pen, there's no really rule as far as which pen to use for that one. So you don't have to use, like I said with the banner, you don't have to use the thick guy because it's a smaller piece that you're working with rather than a bigger banner. And you won't be seeing it from farther away. So she can decorate this with any sort. But yeah, perfect. I don't know. So this is exactly what she did before. You guys saw it was very dark. You can kind of see she has really faint lines. So it's such a good tip. I love it. So now she can go over in a darker, maybe you want to do that while I talk, in whatever color you want. Oh yeah, you can do something. Okay, perfect. So she'll go over that. And then another fun thing is that an idea that I just wanted to give you guys is if you have watercolors, this is a perfect time for kids to play with watercolors. It doesn't need to be perfect. So before this, we were playing with adding a watercolor wash. So that's a whole nother thing. Don't have to get into it. I just wanted to give ideas if you want to play with that. Because what she did for her bookmark is we did a watercolor wash first and let it completely dry. Maybe this is a 2-part project if you do want to do that. So it's a watercolor wash first and doing that all over. And then the next day coming back and she wrote her entire quote. And then another option is if you wanted to add, some bookmarks have string at the top. Maybe this is another project that if you have a hole punch and string that you hole punch and then add to the top. So that's another example. Yay! Okay, so the final lesson, as I was talking about, was just making a card for someone. So Ever and I, we were talking about maybe you ask your kids, or if your kids can hear me, who is your best friend, or who do you think of that you want to make a card for or write something to? So when I asked Ever who her best friend was,
I said my mom.
she said her mom. So we're gonna make her mom a card. So again, it doesn't need to be perfect, and so maybe so think of one word that you would use to describe your mom. So what would that word be?
Funny.
Funny. So her mom is really funny. So we're gonna write that. So maybe do you want to write you are funny while I keep talking? You can play with whatever you want. So again, like I was talking about, it doesn't need to be a folding card. It could just be a flat card. It could be colored, whatever you want. With that, what I wanted to show, the last part, is playing with different ways to mix things up. So I used to love this, especially as a kid. I would always write, if you guys can see, drawing little bubbles and dots at the end. So you can either do them closed up or maybe they're open. Another fun way is if you just write the word, right? So she's gonna write funny and maybe she writes it and adds little dots around them. Or if it's a girl, maybe you draw little hearts around it, or sorry, at the ends of it. So these are fun ways that if you have one word just to kind of make it pop, make it really personal and really fun. With that, again, it doesn't matter what type of pen you use. It can be any of them, whatever you have. So I'm going to have her keep going with that. And while she's going with that, the last little lesson or tidbit that I wanted to give you guys is a little pep talk, whether it's an adult that's listening to me or a kid that's listening to me, is like we said, it doesn't need to be perfect. I think that with hand lettering, we tend to want to make everything very structured and very straight or a certain size. And hopefully you guys have seen through all of these lessons is that you can change the height. You can add a little bit of border to it. Maybe, for example, we have Ever's banner that she finished. And she actually made a comment, I don't know if you guys could have heard, is that she said, oh, my H was a little off center. Even though she happened, which we can do this off camera, is I would tell her, maybe you draw a little heart right there, or a little smiley face or a star. There's ways that if you do it, there's nothing wrong with this. So I want you all to remember that you can add to it. It's not a one and done. So even if you don't want to use a pencil first, I would highly suggest just going for it. The other thing is with the card, the idea is to just spread kindness. And I think that we forget that saying something is very nice, but also physically making something and giving it to a person holds so much value. And if we all wrote a card, one card a week, a month, it doesn't need to be every single day. We can make this world brighter, one card at a time. And so, did you draw? Okay, yay! So, Everett wrote, you are funny, and you did it in the so I love that. So, what do you want to add? Which one of these from the lesson would you want to do? What we were talking about? The dots. Okay, so you can see that she wrote the word funny, and then she's going to draw little dots on them just to add some personality to it. So, again, drawing a card I think holds so much value. And then the last thing is if the card that you're going to give is to someone who you see every day, or maybe if it's her mom, I was telling her that she doesn't have to write an address. She can just draw on the envelope, which is what we did earlier. Can you show them? Okay. So this, she wrote mom, and she also added the bubble letters to it, and we can show everyone. She added the little bubble letter, bubble letters to the ends of it. So it's adding it to the ends, the points of each of her letters. And then she did the same with this. So like I was saying, so is if you, if it's someone that you'll see every day, maybe it's your friend at school, like I was saying, get an envelope. So this is just an envelope. And you can write just the person's name. But if it's someone that you're mailing it, you can write their address on it and then add a little stamp and put that in the mail. So that's also one of the projects in the book. And then another thing which you can play with is if you are doing an envelope. Oh yeah, let me get that. So you can play with adding, if you open up your envelope, you can add a little pattern to the inside. So when they open up the card, it's even funner. So adding little decorations to that, or even decorations to the flap of it. I think she's gonna go get her. She wanted to show the other one that she made. So those are fun ways to kind of spruce up your card. Oh yeah, so she made this for her grandma earlier this week. So then what we were saying is that, oh, is this one? But she added a little liner. So this envelope is plain blue. I don't want to show, let's not show that. She added a little bit of a fun pop of yellow and a fun pop of blue to the end of her envelope. And she also add a little shadow to the letters, which is another fun thing that you can play with. So again, such a simple thing. It doesn't need to be very fancy. And I guess we can show. So again, just to recap for everyone, the first, you want to hold the other side? Yeah, hooray! Oh, we can move these over. Okay, project 1, making a banner. You can cut on the ends. This is a really fun thing. Perfect. Okay, project 1. Project 2 is a bookmark, playing with the heights of the letters. And then project 3, good job. Project 3, where'd your funny card go? Over here? Project 3, making a card, then an envelope, whether it's with an address or just someone to give it to. And finally, have fun. That's what this all is about. We're not trying to make things perfect, so just have fun.
So good. I love it.
Love it.
Yeah, that's my whole spiel. So thank you so much. I hope you guys have fun with your kids. And it's even fun. Ever brought over one of her friends one day and she did it. So invite people to your table and have fun.
I love it. And Ever, is this you?
No.
That's not, that's in the, one another girl that are fun. But her name is in the book. She's at the end, at the outro, or in the thank you section.
Oh, that's so cool. Ever, you're famous now. So just so everybody can remember, I'm going to put the name of your book up on the screen here, Nicole. So the Kids Book of Hand Lettering. And I've put a couple reminders up on the screen to screenshot this video and share it for a chance to win that book. But even if you don't, if you have kids, I would have loved this as a kid. I would have loved it so much. And I probably would have known that I should have been a hand letterer a lot earlier in life if I had had this book.
You found your way to it.
So thanks again so much, Nicole. And I'm going to put your website up here so that anybody can go and find you on there. But is there anything new and exciting coming up in your world that people should know about, or you're just working on these books and pumping them out?
I think that it's kind of helping to spread the word for this book. I believe so much in both of them. So kind of helping to get that out. And then I'm going to start to get into some other workshops, whether it's online or in person. So those will be in the loop pretty soon.
Awesome. Well, thanks again so much. And I look forward to sharing this with as many kids as possible.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye, Ever.
Bye.